Today's guest is a former student athlete and a math genius that will prove to us that 1 equals 2. Also, did you all see that thing that I saw on TV in the political sphere? Man, I saw it on Thursday and it just kind of hit me a little different. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, so stay tuned tonight on STEMedia Live. Let's go. Listen, I'm excited tonight, man, because I took a week off. And listen, this night is one of the best nights of the week. Why? Because I get to come before you and chat with some of the most inspirational and creative people in the STEM community. Why am I excited? Dr. Nee, why are you excited? Well, I am excited because tonight is no exception. You already know we're going to bring you another phenomenal guest, another wonderful person that's going to talk to us, give us a little insight on their story, and most importantly, going to give us some jewels, some insight, some words of wisdom that can help you in what you're trying to achieve. Yes, so welcome to STEMedia Live Sundays. This is the place, as I told you, where you are going to get inspired. You're going to see some creativity. And yes, we hope to motivate you for this upcoming week. So before we get into our guest, before we introduce who he is to you, we're going to start things off with our segment as we do every week. And that segment is, did you hear? And this one is actually more specifically, did you see that? Did you see this? I have a picture on the screen right now of Miss Karine Jean-Pierre. I was working in my office on Thursday, and there was like this press conference. I had no idea what this press conference was about. I didn't know what they were going to be talking about. I just saw that it was on, and the moment I turned it on, I saw this face. I saw the melanin, I saw the yellow, I saw the blue background, and it just hit different, y'all. I promise you. I remember turning it to my wife, who was actually working with me at the time, and I said, before I could even hear anything, I said, I don't even know what she's talking about, but this one feels different. This just feels different. Why? Because I saw the face of a sister, Miss Karine, only the second Black woman to ever lead a White House press conference. Why am I bringing her up right now on STEMedia Live? I thought y'all were a STEM platform. Well, as I looked into her background, come to find out that she went to undergrad before she got into politics at the New York Institute of Technology, the New York Tech Bears. And from looking at a book that she wrote a little while back, Moving Forward, A Story of Hope, Hard Work, and the Promise of America, I found out that Miss Karine was an undergrad studying pre-med in hopes of going to med school. And so she talks a little bit about how she was studying so hard for the MCAT and how things weren't clicking. And a part of her story of hope and hard work was, in fact, her journey through undergrad. And for us who are in STEM in these fields, we know these are not the easiest fields, the easiest degrees to obtain. But Karine, who we saw again as the second Black lady to lead a White House press conference, was a pre-med student in undergrad. Now, she talked about how she had an opportunity to go back to her homeland. Her parents were immigrants from Haiti, and she went there. She says in her book, Moving Forward, that this is what inspired her to get into government, to get into policy. And so she moved on from her science route and actually began to study in grad school, originally environmental policy, making a little bit of a bridge from the science to the policy, only to eventually go on and earn her MPA, a Master in Public Affairs from Columbia University. In 2021, she was only the second Black woman. The first Black woman was actually in 1991. This is Miss Judy Smith, the first Black woman to actually lead a White House press conference. 30 years, y'all, 30 years. And so I thought it was an incredible moment just to see this wonderful representation in our political arena. Not only that, but as a STEM brand, as a STEM platform, it was also quite striking to find out that Miss Karine Jean-Pierre had a STEM background, and now she is doing phenomenal work in our government. So that concludes our segment on Did you see that? All right. Now, without further ado, we are going to introduce our guest for the evening. I am going to read a little bit of his bio really quick, and we're going to get into a great conversation about him, his brand, and all that he's doing for the community. His name is Mr. Oneil Barnaby. He is the founder and director of the Black Math Academy. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, and raised in Maryland, where he attended the Archbishop Carroll High School in Washington, D.C. He is a former student athlete, award-winning, I must say. He's played multiple sports: basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse, track and field, did so much, went on to school with a scholarship in college at Mount St. Mary's University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a minor in history. Very interesting. Started the Black Math Academy back in 2018. His goal is to grow it into a larger academy where they offer assistance in multiple areas, as well as initiate think tanks to build intelligence in society through mathematics. On the side, he helps student athletes navigate the recruiting process. He helps them with negotiations, academics, rules and guidelines, highlight tapes, and other aspects of their career. And so, family, STEMedia, I want y'all to do me a favor, whether you are watching this on Instagram or you're watching this on YouTube, wherever you may be, put your hands together, give us some love, join in the energy as we present to some and introduce to others, none other than the Black Math Academy mastermind himself, Mr. Oneil Barnaby. Y'all give it up for him. Y'all give it up for him. Y'all give it up for him. The Black Math Academy is in the building. What up, Oneil?
Yo, what's good? What's good, Dr. B? How you living, man?
I'm good, man. I'm living good, bro. This is some good vibe. I'm just feeling like this is gonna be a great conversation. I can already tell, man. Of course, we connected a little bit before it, but thank you so much for agreeing to be on STEMedia Live.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's always an honor to come on this platform and just share with you, man, because you're doing your thing with the whole media and aggregating STEM like that. That's what's up, man. We definitely need platforms like this that we own and control that can pass down to our people. Best and brightest, man. I see you, man.
Here's the question we always kick things off with, right? We always ask our guests to break the ice for us by giving us a random fun fact about themselves. We're going to get into the STEM. We're going to get into the background. But go ahead, something that we wouldn't expect. Add to this bio for us about something maybe interesting about your story.
Okay. I guess what people probably won't know or won't guess about me is that, I did run track and field, but more specifically, I actually won Penn Relays. For those that don't know, Penn Relays is a very infamous track event that takes place every year during the last full week of April. And it's a 7-day event where schools from all over the country, the best schools, come through and showcase their track talents. Middle school, high school, college, as well as professionals as well. They come through. And my school was able to go and run the 4x8, the 4x800 event, which is a event where we run half a mile each person. And we were able to come in first. We actually won the event and became number one in the entire country.
Oh, man.
Awesome feeling that day. We were able to beat out the Jamaicans. That's the one team that everybody.
You already know.
They run the yard every year. They run the yard through this. So we came through and we were able to showcase and put them behind us. Only a little bit. We came first though.
But I love it, man. Well, hey, that's what's up, man. You are a student athlete, and I think I remember you actually putting that in the chat one time in the past when we were having STEMedia Live with another student athlete, some folks from Duke. I think it was a guy from Duke, and you were talking about how you were also a student athlete. You were doing well in the classroom. Shout out to Miss Full Redemption. Excited about this show. I think for you to say though, you said y'all beat Jamaican team. Is that what you said?
It was the high school team. So there were a few high school Jamaican teams: Homewood, Jago, Kingston College, and we were able to beat all three of them, along with other American teams as well.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to say you had to do a cheat code too, because if I understand correctly, your mom is from Jamaica. You're like half Jamaican though, right?
That's right. My mom is from Jamaica. My dad is from Panama. I guess I got a little Caribbean background in me as well. So maybe that might have helped a little bit. But I'm born here. I'm still, American.
Yeah.
That little bit of DNA from both sides might have put me over the edge.
Just a little bit. I got you. I love it. Well, listen, I think that's dope. Y'all give Oneil some love for the athletic prowess who also was a phenomenal student. And you started, or you were born, as your bio says, in Brooklyn, New York, and then you came down to DC, which is where you had, this phenomenal athletic career in high school. When did you make that transition? How old were you when you came from, the Northeast down to the pure East Coast, if you will?
Oh, yeah, I was pretty young. I was about 4 or 5 years old when I left Brooklyn. I still remember that I came from Brooklyn to Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in one city at first, Rockville, then moved to Tacoma Park a year later. And so I don't remember a whole lot in terms of the Brooklyn vibes and the students there. When I went to Maryland, it was a much smoother environment.
Right.
Brooklyn in the 80s, everybody probably is familiar with it by now.
Yeah.
About the violence and the drugs and whatnot. But Maryland, completely different atmosphere. It's
right.
Those kind of things don't happen there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much the transition.
I got you. Well, cool, man. What do you remember then about DC or Maryland rather, as it relates to like your early introduction to the world of math, the world of STEM in general? Like, what was sort of your early academic memories as it relates to your upbringing there?
Okay. Probably in elementary school. I remember that when we were learning mathematics, the teachers would separate us. Pretty much those who were pretty much gifted in mathematics and those who had a little bit more work to do. And I was consistently with the students who were gifted. My report cards, actually, I still have all of my report cards from elementary, middle, and high school, and college too. And it shows, how proficient you are in English and in reading, those two particular areas. And math was always on top. So that separation from other people kind of give you the verification that you were pretty good at it. You know what you were doing. And I was able to compete, with the best of them. And so, being surrounded by, people who didn't look like, white and Asian and Hispanics, but still being able to compete with the best of them and kind of gelling those groups together behind mathematics, even though we were all from different backgrounds. Math was the one piece of information that we all could coalesce behind.
Yeah, universal language, basically.
Absolutely. So anything, any other biases really didn't matter outside of that. So, showing that you were able to compete and you were just as much of a maven at it as everybody else.
Yeah.
Put those things to shame.
Right. I wonder if like you had a similar experience as me though, because like I remember honestly, I've never really had a struggle with math, right? But it really took someone else pointing out that gift in me, because I remember as a kid, like a lot of people would just say, man, I hate math, man, I can't stand math. Like people would just say it, and like because I didn't really like identify it as a strength of my mind yet, I kind of was tempted at times to act like I didn't like it either, even though I didn't really have that beef. Like, did you ever find yourself in those situations where like people were like bashing math and you were like, I guess, I don't know.
Like I remember people bashing it, and then kind of trying to go along to get along. You want to fit in. So I love mathematics and some of the things that nerds in general like. But my friends didn't. They were more into sports. They were more into comics. They were more into hanging out. And I really wasn't into that. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should act more like that too. But my parents, being from the Caribbean, they're very stringent upon, getting your grades and doing well. And if you didn't, there were consequences when you came home. So to avoid that, you kind of had to do the best you can.
Right.
As a result of that, your friends kind of see the hustle in that. They see the strength in that. They start to admire, that side of you. You don't have to be like the rest of us, and in particular in a direction that's not going to, do well or be well for the community or for yourself.
Right.
So you gain a lot of respect from the streets when you do that.
Yeah.
So
no, that's true, and I guess that would probably be a good word for whoever's young, maybe watching this, stumbling across this. Like, you don't have to. I guess I'll use the word dumb down, your gifts or things that you're actually pretty good at just for the sake of fitting in. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of times that people have gifts, but because the majority of people are trying to go in one direction, and to your point, like it may not always be like bad, but it's just not you. You know what I mean? Like sports and the things that they were doing may not have always been like, oh, that's bad, but it's like, yo, you got to get this work. You got to get this math. Like you belong with people who are actually pretty gifted in this subject, and so you took advantage of that. And did that kind of like lead to any extracurricular stuff before college, like from the mathematical side? Because I don't know if you had like any type of after school programs and stuff that you were involved in
Oh,
as it relates
absolutely.
to that. Did you?
Yeah, absolutely. The other than being in the neighborhood sports leagues that were around, um, I gotta put it, I guess, bluntly. Even though it is illegal for high schools to recruit, um, that's kind of effectively what happened. They kind of persuade students to come to certain schools, private schools, to get the best. So when I was showcasing my talent in these different sports leagues, people saw it and wanted you to come through. So they would persuade you to come through and then help out the school in that way. So that kind of happened with me at first when it came to lacrosse, but then I switched to track and field, and that became the go-to sport for me.
So what was your first? So lacrosse was your first sport? Like, what was your first love?
Basketball, I would probably say.
Okay. Gotcha.
In terms of the order, I played soccer first. That was actually my first one I ever played organized.
Gotcha.
Definitely loved it. Wasn't all that great at it. I was probably the fastest.
Right, you could run. You definitely could run.
I could do that, but in terms of like the foot skills, compared to the other athletes, no, I didn't have that. Just put the ball in space and let me catch it. Yeah, they weren't. So I just do that.
Gotcha.
I played basketball after that. Played football after that. Played lacrosse after that. But in the midst of that, I did track. There were certain leagues around where you could do track. And it was consistently getting better at it. By the time I got to high school, I considered myself a sprinter at that point. I thought I was really good at the sprints, the 1 and the 2. But my coach saw that at the end of practice, I wouldn't be as winded as my other teammates. They'd be and then breathing down.
Right. Going like they need some water throwing up.
Right. And I'm sitting there like, I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
They started putting me in longer distances, the quarter, the half mile. And in meets, I started competing and getting better with time. Like week after week, I would drop 2 seconds, 4 seconds. Whoa, this kid is kind of showing some real talent here. So let's put him in the 8. And then I really started getting good at that. And the rest is history.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because you're the perfect guest to show that you can do both, right? Like you were incredible in the classroom, you were doing great, and you had this gift for mathematics, you were doing great in school, but you also were doing well in athletics, right? It wasn't this dumb jock narrative that sometimes gets painted as a stereotype. And so tell me 2 things if you can comment on. One, how did you find balance? Because there is a certain level of dedication that it takes to being great at either, right? Time wise, right? Sometimes you put in extra time, even beyond your natural talent. But then 2, what if any points can you say how one may have benefited the other or vice versa? You know what I mean?
So to your first point, the demand was there. The environment demanded you to organize and manage your time to be efficient in both. So I would encourage more people to engage in those activities, after school programs, sports, whatever the case may be, along with your academics, so you can see how you can manage your time to do best in both. That whole dumb jock narrative you were talking about, I always kind of laughed in the face of that because those of us who are athletes or who have these other responsibilities, we have to go to school the same way that other students do. Then we have after school programs, we've got practice, we've got games, we got to work out, and which leaves us less time to study. All you got to do is study. You go to school, you come home, you got the rest of the day to study. So you have an excuse to be bright. At least I've got one. But I'm not saying follow that. But that idea that the environment where it was forced upon you to spend as much time as you could studying, spend as much time as you could with the athletics, and you can see the benefits of both. And to your second question,
right, the benefit of the two.
It's a bit of a stereotype, but I would say it's kind of mostly true that a lot of like the brightest, the smartest, the nerds, the bookworms among us, they're not the most social human beings. And athletics provided the ability to be social. Those who are in that field, the athletes who are in that field are very gregarious. So they know how to hang around people. Guys know how to put their arms around any female and be like, "Yo, what's up, shorty? Like, how you doing?" Like, that kind of attitude is very much helpful for those who are a bit more shy and people around people. So if that, getting into that field will then teach you how to be that kind of more social butterfly.
Got you.
And that's the benefit of that. I wish more nerds and more bookworms definitely need to be more social, and sports is one particular avenue that can help.
Yeah. And in so many high schools across America, man, you do have people, because I believe that it's not a monolith, but then you do have, like you said, some people who are like, every time PE class or gym class come, they're like, oh man, can we just go back in the classroom? You know what I mean? Just all sit at our desks, because it's a little bit more free roaming. It's a lot more social and like that type of emotional intelligence. But then you have people who's like, look, yes, we finally go to gym. Like, this is my gym. This is where I show myself. And you had the ability to sort of like, span both environments, operate in both environments very well. So I think that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. But you ended up getting a scholarship to college. You went to Mount St. Mary's University. What was your scholarship in exactly?
It was in track and field.
Okay.
And for those that don't, it is a scholarship, but for those that don't know, there is such a thing as a full scholarship and a partial scholarship.
Okay.
I got a partial scholarship, which is
Gotcha.
I think how it works is that it's a percentage. So a full scholarship would be 100% of the money that the school can offer, and partial would be a percentage of that. So I received a 60% partial scholarship, and the total ended up being $6,000. So you can do the math there, where 60% of something is $6,000, and there you go from there. So I got my scholarship in track and field, and then once I got there, you then kind of focus the area or the events that you're going to run in. So since I was already a half miler in high school, that's what I ran in college. Also the quarter mile as well. It's pretty close to it, but the half mile is different beast. Anything else, anywhere else that I was needed, but it was mostly the 800 and the quarter mile.
800, 400. Got you. So you were distance. You weren't like a super sprinter like the 100-meter dash, 100 meter or anything like that.
No, I thought I was at first, and then I saw some other talent, like you seen Usain Bolt's 9.58 record.
Crazy.
That's crazy. 9.5 seconds almost in the 100 meters. That's insane.
That's insane, man. That's insane. So did you run track your entire college career?
Yeah, all 4 years.
Okay.
Okay. For those who don't know, you can actually look me up. Google, YouTube. There are a few.
I love it. I dig it. Google me. I should have did that at the beginning. I'm like, did you know our guest? You know what I mean? So you out there, you got there with, you decorated.
Right. This was back in 2004 too. So the internet was still getting off the ground, but it wasn't in everybody's homes just yet.
Yeah.
And back then we had dial up, so the internet was pretty slow too.
The noise.
Right.
Get off the phone.
Man,
who's on the phone? I'm trying to get on the internet. You know what I mean? I feel that.
So those are the early days of the internet evolution.
Right.
It came to be. So those pages, when it came to track and field events, were just coming out. Now it's all over the place.
Absolutely.
But yeah, those pages still exist today, and they're still available. There's even a video of the event, the Championship of America event that I ran at Penn Relays. If you look it up, it's still there too.
I feel you, bro. You would have had a whole mixtape right now. You know what I mean? If it was this day and age. Yo, this is Oneil Barnaby, the founder and director of the Black Math Academy. He has an incredible student athletic career history that he was just telling us about, while he was also succeeding in the classroom. So I encourage y'all to definitely, if you're just getting to this live, go back and watch when you get a chance. And make sure y'all connect with him and his platforms as well, which we will highlight a little later. Oneil, let me ask you though, man, what in the world caused you to major in mathematics and history? Like, those are like, there are people who are like, yo, this is not even the same side of the brain. Like, how in the world, And in fact, let me tell you this, because I have a degree in applied mathematics, right? Because I started at a school that didn't have an engineering program, a formal engineering program. So I was technically an applied mathematics major when I first got to college. And one of my best friends was actually a history major. And like, we literally used to have debates about whose major was more pointless.
That's deep.
we used to do this stuff, right? And so now here you are, the very first person I've ever met that literally majored in mathematics and minored rather in history. So what brought about that decision, and what were you hoping to accomplish with this combination, brother?
Okay, I guess two reasons why. One, the school that I went to, Mount St. Mary's University, is very big on history. There are a ton of electives that they offer in history courses, so it's almost impossible to not minor in history. It just kind of happens. But another reason that sort of helped me out in terms of minoring in history was just the ability to use it to tell stories, to kind of not so much philosophize, but use it as a way to create lessons. There are things in the past that we can learn from, and not knowing the past means that you're not going to know where you're going, as well. You have to have a stern, steady foundation on bedrock of what the past was. Then you can take those lessons and improve upon them, when the future comes. And you're the one who actually building that future yourself. And then the math side is just the more practical aspect of it. I can use that to pinpoint what works and what doesn't. And we can tangibly see and show what works and go with that. What doesn't work, let's put it to the side. Maybe we can reinvent that some other time. But yeah, math and history, that's how I use them in my work.
You sound like a philosopher just talking about that, brother. I say you like, yo, I can tell the story, I can break it down. As you tell me why you majored in math and minored in history, you literally I feel like you're doing it even right now, because you're right, man. Like, there's a story, everything has a context. So that is pretty deep. Like, everything has a context, right? And so no matter if things are factual or not, I think even like, something can happen, but when you understand the context and the history around certain things, it gives it a whole new meaning and colors it in a whole lot more. But also, like math, as you said even earlier, it sort of gives a baseline, just like, hey, it is what it is. Like, we're gonna show that these things equate or what have you. And so you were able to sort of be factual as well as contextual and philosophical as it related to the history. And I think that's pretty dope. And so I might owe my friend an apology. shout out to Will.
What's up?
Shout out to my boy out there. And so you graduated, and when did you graduate?
In 08.
08. Okay. So yeah, we're probably about the same age, man. And you went on to, I think you did a number of jobs, right? Like I'm looking at your history, like you were a receiving manager, you delivered newspapers, back when that was pretty big. You were a tutor. So talk about that, sort of like that adulting emerging, and then if you can, maybe drop some things you learned post-college, because you went from a student athlete that kind of had a regimented schedule, college, everything kind of makes sense. And now it's like, all right, Oneil's grown up now. He's getting his degree. So give us a little bit about the adulting emerging that happened.
Okay. Back in 08, I graduated in May, and then August, September of that same year was when the housing market crashed. So the large lesson behind that was that the jobs were not there, and housing prices were out of control. Gas flew through the roof. It hit $5 in some places, a gallon. So there were many people out there who were just scrapping for work. Despite some of the qualifications that they actually had, degrees, certifications, and things like that. And I was one of them. So I was kind of hopping around, just trying to make it, screaming as I could. And the lesson behind that was mathematics is definitely a good degree to get into. I'm not saying that. Unfortunately, it was the circumstances outside of that affected me. That's the reality. But definitely pick degrees or certifications that are portable, something you can take with you anywhere you go, and something that actually makes money. Don't let anybody tell you that money doesn't matter. They're silly. They're ignorant. They're not
about it. It matters.
Nobody. When it comes down to the rent, they're not asking you for an opinion about it. They want their bread. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, pick a field that can make you enough money to live on. And then for those of you who are more, benevolent and you want to help out your community, that just adds that extra element to your purpose. The Mark Twain once said that the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And that why part is the essential part to me. For religious reasons, for practical reasons, whatever they happen to be, figure that out. Once you figure that out, then everything is easy as cake from there. But you got to have a plan in place. The degree, the certification is the first step, and then after that, the money, is the next step, because you need that foundation, that practicality, that bedrock, to then accomplish that. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's facts, man. That's so fact. Like it is you know what, I don't know, I can't pronounce it, but it's you know, the three circles thing. Well, sometimes three circles and sometimes it's four, where you see where your interest lies, your passion lies, but then also like what makes sense financially, economic sense, right? And I totally believe in being able to find both, and because on one hand, if you do something only for the money, like solely for the money, then of course you can get to a point where it's like, you know, you lose sort of the meaning once you sort of get the money. But on the other hand, if you, like you're saying, just like money doesn't matter at all, you know, well, you gonna be struggling. Like you still gotta pay your bills. We still live in a, you know, capitalistic society, and we still gotta make things happen. So I think that's really good advice, bro.
Yeah, it's just understanding the world that you live in. We do live in a capitalist society, so we're not saying love money. It doesn't
right.
But understand that it does get things done. It moves things. It's not immoral. It's amoral. It doesn't pick a side. You can use it to build a school. You can use it to build a bomb. It's up to you. But which one you gonna do? Most of us want to live in peace. We don't want to live in war. So we're gonna build schools.
Facts. Like when you were doing that though, when you were doing like obviously stuff that, because hearing your story, you had a lot of promise, but when you were delivering newspapers, say for instance, right, and you're doing these things that may not have seemed like a step up in the eyes of some people, did you ever feel like, you know, man, what am I doing? Or did you ever like worry about how people may have viewed sort of where you were in life at that point?
There's always an element of that, and that just comes with the territory, I suppose, in the society that we live in. But you know, like Shane, you learn, you recover from it, learn from it, and then don't repeat it. You go through that, and then, well, what do you do from there? Do you wallow in your own sorrow? Do you stay there in pity and look for a party for other people to be miserable around you, or do you do something about it?
Right.
So you just do something about it. You come up with your game plan, however long it takes. You master the craft that you're into, welding, mathematics, art, writing, whatever it happens to be. And come up with a game plan that can put you in that position and just make it work. I'm not totally concerned about, there's some level of how long it takes, but the goal is to get it done. So what's the excuse? Get it done.
Get it done. Yeah. I feel that, man. That's wise counsel. Y'all, if you're watching us on STEMedia Live right now, this is Oneil Barnaby, the student athlete, mathematical genius with the minor in history that broke it down for me as to why those things do fit together. And I'm about to ask him, as I asked you, Oneil, about the origins of the Black Math Academy. Get into that, man. Go ahead and break that down. I understand you were a tutor. You started your own tutoring company. I know some of this part was taking place before the Black Math Academy, but go ahead and give us a pitch, give us a spiel of what is the Black Math Academy and why is it needed right now?
Okay. So in terms of its origin, I was working for another tutoring company, and I'd been there for maybe 4 or 5 years before I really started to notice that there wasn't an effort to bring in Black students. I had counted on one hand in the 4 or 5 years of working there how many Black students I personally worked with. It was only on one hand in 4 or 5 years. I'm like, something's not right here. So you can notice that, okay, these companies, they say that, everybody's welcome. The law says that, everybody can go to these places and there's no discrimination. But however, when you start noticing that, they charge prices that most Black people can't afford, or they build their institutions where Black people don't have easy access to, that's like on the slick saying that, we really don't want these economic undesirables. So I was like, nah, we can't have that. I got to do something about that. So you can call it ear hustling, you can call it, dry splinting or whatever, but studied the game, wherever I could in terms of learning the business side, how much they charge other competitors, what the amenities were, and then just do it on your own. Now, part of that is building your own assets. So you're going to have your own resources too. So started with money and credit. You got to build that up. Again, we live in a world that runs on money, so we're going to need that. And then there's mastering the craft. You can't teach what you do not know. So you have to know mathematics if you're going to teach mathematics. And then on top of that, what kind of sets me apart, as you mentioned earlier about my athletic side too. So that brings in students who are also more athletically inclined, potentially collegiate too. So that's just another element to add to the business as well. And, people talk about their own stories. And at first I was kind of shy and bashful about doing that. I'm not a person who likes to talk about myself. So I got more and more comfortable with that. And it was actually beneficial and salubrious in terms of bringing in other students who felt the same way, who could relate to it. They were also athletes. They were also Black. They were also struggling. They were also, in the same fields that I was doing. And they could see someone else doing it and also achieving it as well.
Yeah. I think that's a dope niche too, man. Like, of course, math in general, there's all of us or all students have to go through it and they need confidence in that area. But shout out to the STEMedia LLC, again, being able to have a unique assistance and value to provide to student athletes is great, right? Because as they are dealing with it, you can identify with having to devote time to your team, to your training, to your workouts, and then also have to catch up on maybe a class lecture that you missed because you were on travel. You know what I mean? Like, or just like different stuff like that. And it's like, how math is, bro. You're building on it like throughout the semester. And so like if you miss a class, you could literally miss a pivotal point to where like, you come back and everybody's like, yo, how's this making sense? And I'm like sitting here like, and you just missed that point. So I think that's incredible. How did you start though? Like, did you just first find one student that you could help, or like did you go about it another way when you started to realize that, hey, this is a need? What was sort of like your first thing?
Okay. So I got a lot of resources. I made up my own assessments for the different areas of mathematics that students go through. I built an SAT program, an ACT program, and that was going to be the base of how I was going to tutor. Just use those kind of aspects there, the things that students learn in school, and also the standardized tests. Get gamed up on that too, and then just kind of put it out there. So I use Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and whatnot to kind of put myself out there. I attended a few expos, here and there to get passed out business flyers and cards and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first year, didn't get a student, not one. I was I was posting things here and there on Facebook and whatnot, and people were following it, they were liking it and sharing it and things like that, but no customers just yet. Then I finally got one student who wanted help with the ASVAB. For those that don't know, it's for the military. And was able to help him in a relatively short amount of time. He wanted some quick help.
Was he virtual, or was it like in your area?
This was in person, actually.
In person, okay.
Yeah, it was in person. I was able to help him in a short amount of time, and his mom was so grateful for that that she started to promote me as well. I'm just kind of sharing with her, the people that she knew, who I was and what the program was about. And that's honestly the best place to really start promoting, because when other people see the benefits from what you can produce, that's the best reference. So that really helped. And then, just kind of showing the
word of mouth results.
The results, yeah. So I would apply the mathematics to real world activities. It's sort of a niche, or kind of a stock and trade that I like to do, because everybody always complains, like you said earlier, about, well, when am I going to use this? Like, this is not even going to help me out. Well, let me show you how it's actually useful. Money is the one thing that everybody revolves around. They love that. So let me show you how math can make
money.
How is it in stocks? How is it in business? How is it when it comes to system of equations, how you can promote and calculate your cost versus your revenue and see what the equilibrium is. So they definitely appreciate that. They see how it works. The students who come in who get help for tests and for subject tutoring, and their grades improve in a short amount of time, or they're more talkative in class and they participate, raise their hand, and are much more confident. The parents see this. They witness that, and the students do too. And that type of result just adds fuel to the fire when it comes to what we do and how good we are.
Yeah. And you're really obviously, the Black Math Academy, you believe in Black empowerment, Black excellence, but you've also have struck me as someone who's very knowledgeable about our people and really passionate about some of the things that maybe even people who are passionate about our people may not even be educated on. I mean, for instance, you have a shirt on right now, right? Black Mathematicians, right? And like you ask the normal person, who's a historical Black mathematician, we may not be able to name even three, you got three in your shirt. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about, who's on your shirt, if you could. I'm just curious personally. And then yeah, talk more about just the importance of uplifting our people in general.
Oh yeah, the one word, a buzzword today in the lexicon is representation.
Okay. Yep.
And I would agree with that. Most people who don't jump into these fields is likely because they never seen anybody in these fields. They just don't know. So the research and the information is out there. So I conducted that, which is part of the reason why I minored in history as well. I took a mathematics history course as well.
There you go.
So I wanted to learn about these things. I knew Pythagoras wasn't the only mathematician out there. All these whites, what happened to the black folks out there? We built the pyramids, but no one knows who they are. Well, what's up with that? So yeah, once I found out who these people were, then yeah, now it's time to promote. Let's get it out there. So I had a friend of mine who came up with the concept of putting these mathematicians on the shirt, and I was like, yo, I've never seen anything like that before. We have shirts of all different types of promotions, but not black mathematicians. That's gonna be bold. All right, so let me do that. As far as I know, I'm the only one who's done that.
Yeah.
And here you go. So one particular infamous one is Benjamin Banneker. A lot of people might start to know him now. The one who invented the first working clock in America, and also designed DC's streets, the way that it is set up, the parallel lines for a certain number of streets and parallel going another direction. He's the one who designed it. So he's definitely mathematically inclined in that regard. Who else do I have? Dr. Kelly Miller. He definitely mathematically inclined and also a race man too. He's the one who called out, I think it was Woodrow Wilson's administration for its lack of investigating lynchings at the time. He also helped bridge the gap between Booker T and W.E.B. Du Bois when it came to the different viewpoints of how Black people should be kind of structured and the direction they should go. So he combined the mathematics aspect to the vocational aspects and built a Howard University program that combined those two, first of its kind in any HBCU. So he's instrumental of that.
Wow.
Valerie Thomas, she might have been on a lot of people's Facebook feeds and his IG feeds a little bit more recently.
Let me see. So, if you don't mind, sure, I'm trying to see the photo. Yeah.
There you go. Is that a little better?
There we go. Oh, yeah. Valerie, yes, no doubt. I've seen that photo.
Okay. Yeah. It's,
with the afro and everything. I love it.
So, Valerie Thomas, I believe one of the highest paid college presidents, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Also worked for like IBM, and which is very typical for people from back then with math degrees. They worked for like NASA, IBM, and Bell back then. But yeah, this is a few of the people. Who else? Dr. Charles Reason. Actually, not a doctor, because this is before degrees for him. He was a child genius, actually, 14 years old, teaching college students mathematics and the classics in terms of Greek, Latin, those languages. He was one of those types. He also built a school to, he was sort of trying to prove that Black people were just as good as white people when it came to teaching and mathematics. So he built a school specifically for that purpose. So he aggregated a bunch of Black folks to become teachers in mathematics.
That's dope, man. You definitely put me on game, and it's empowering to hear these stories because, again, like it dispels the narrative of us not being good at math, and you just literally just showed that there was someone who made a school or created an entire school to show that Black people are not inferior when it comes to math. And I always think about the fact, obviously, we know that that life started on Africa, the continent of Africa, and we just look at the amazing mathematical or amazing feats that would not have been possible without mathematics, without a firm knowledge of mathematics. Literally on that continent, this everything from the pyramids to the Sphinx, and just amazing things, right? And we can really go down into that. And so there's that, right? That's obvious, and obviously you can't dispute that. That's where life started. And then, as you just showed us, that there are many, even in modern history, right, that demonstrate that we can point at, even still living to this day. I believe is Valerie, Dr. Valerie, still living today?
Yes, she is. She's still alive.
Yeah, she's still. Yeah. It's just amazing that we still have people we can point to this day, and I love it. And you, my friend, y'all, if y'all don't know, if you're joining us on STEMedia Live, this is Oneil Barnaby, founder and director of the Black Math Academy, dropping bombs, dropping knowledge, bringing a lot of wisdom. I just got to give a quick shout out to a mutual friend of ours, man, Dana Harris.
Right.
Yeah, of Young Gurus Math Tutoring. You and him have a live you all do every week. And I've had him on STEMedia. Like, in fact, he was like one of the earliest guests of the show.
Oh,
And tell us really quick a little bit about that though. What you and him got going on.
Sure. So we have an IG live that we do every other Sunday. It was actually earlier tonight at 7, where me and Hyde decided to just kind of talk about mathematics and combine that with social issues. And I chose him specifically because of some of the differences that we have. He was a person who he's a teacher. He's certified in teaching, and I'm not. So he has that knowledge, that experience in that world, and to combine it with my world, we can then kind of, not bump heads per se, but learn from both aspects.
Yeah.
He's in the West Coast, I'm in the East Coast. There's that aspect. What else? He's a father. He's got two sons. I don't have any children at all.
Okay.
So there's that aspect too. So we apply the differences that we have amongst each other to then create the best information possible, so that people
discussion, engagement, yeah.
And we just apply mathematics to all of that. So we just earlier tonight we talked about how math was so gangster. So we talked about how math is applied to all these different areas of activity, including the criminal world. So we applied it to that, and a lot of people frown upon that. I kind of see your reaction too. You're like, "Whoa, wait a minute for a minute." And I get, I totally get that. But the discussing that really bridges the people who think or consider math to be boring. They start getting intrigued by that, and then we got their attention now. So how do we focus that energy towards something more constructive than so these people are able to use it to do harmful things to our communities. But if they apply that to something more fruitful, then just imagine the results from that. So we talk about those things as well.
I dig it, man. I dig it. Math is so gangster. I like that. I'm gonna have to say that one day. Math is gangster. I love it. And actually, with that, we're gonna have you show us and break down just a little bit how gangster math is in this segment that people who watch it know. We call it School Me. School Me. School Me. All right, Oneil, on our School Me segment this evening, you're gonna show us just how gangster math is. We teased it at our co-opening, and you have 1 equals 2 on this hoodie. So please do me a favor and please break it down for us. How in the world does 1 equal 2?
Okay, so I thought this was pretty interesting and pretty cool. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense. Who in the world would think 1 and 2 are the same value? So what I do is you do it through a proof. You just label. You say A is equal to B. You can just sort of say that according to the rules of mathematics. And then the next step is to multiply both sides by A. So left side says A times A, right side says B times A. Okay, cool. A times A is like saying A squared. So that's the simplified version of that. The next step is to subtract B squared from both sides. Algebra says what you do to one side, you have to do the other side. So that's a thing you can do. The step after that is to FOIL both sides. So A
FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. I remember that.
From algebra class should know that by now.
Yeah.
And the right side you factor as well. So B comes out and you get that result. And then beneath that, you can divide both sides by A minus B to get rid of that particular part of the parentheses there. So that eliminates that part.
Eliminate that.
Right. And then the result would be A plus B equals B.
Yeah.
Now, earlier in the beginning, we said A is B. They're both the same thing. So we just
replace
with A. So when you replace it, it becomes A plus A equals A. A plus A is 2A when you combine the like terms. And then you divide both sides by A, you get 1 is equal to 2.
Yo, get out of here. Did you just destroy math? Did you just build up math just to destroy it right in front of our faces, Oneil? Like, what is this, man?
The clearly this is not true. So this is what's considered a false proof.
False proof, okay.
It looks legit. All the math that we talked about, all the legal rules you perform in an algebraic problem. But there's one part of it that's actually something you can't do. The part where it says that you're dividing both sides by A minus B. That particular part you actually can't do because in the beginning we said A and B are the same thing. So if A and B are the same thing, that's actually equal to 0.
It's trivial. That's trivial right there. That's trivial. Okay.
So
I dig
dividing
it
by
though.
zero is something you can't do in mathematics. There's no value for it. We don't have an answer for it. If you ask Siri, she'll tell you a joke. She actually explains it pretty well. But you actually can't do it. There's no answer. So it stops right there.
Okay. Yeah. Shout out to STEMedia. Wow, you blowing minds over here. So you building up math, you tearing it down, and then you building it back up right in front of our face. That, my friends, is what you call gangster. Keeping it gangster with math. All right, here we go. Here's another one. Oneil. Break this one down for us. All right.
Okay. So I this is the first trick I made actually.
Okay.
For something I saw earlier. So it's a mathematical expression that is a saying as well. So I want to be, and then you're supposed to figure out the rest.
B.
So
Okay.
We have
greater than.
So we got that part. So I want to be greater than. Now that fancy, funky looking expression.
It's a series, right? This is a series.
That's right. The sideways looking M is a sigma, which is a summation series.
As in our STEMedia logo, we got it in our STEMedia logo.
That's right. And the X is assuming the value that comes up. So I is equal to 1, so the first term, and N above that is the number of terms in that sequence.
Right. Okay.
So imagine it being like 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth.
Right.
Up to N. And then the outside part with the left side says 1 divided by N, which is in effect just dividing by N. So imagine if you were adding a bunch of numbers.
Okay.
You divided
by the number of the numbers that you're adding.
Yeah. What would you call that?
Help me out. I know I'm just trying,
you have a sum and you're dividing by the number of numbers.
The number of numbers.
Right. It's average. When you have a sum, you add like your grades in school. So
exactly. It's the average. Duh. That's what I'm saying. All right. So I want to be greater than average. Come on now.
That's right.
Y'all see this? Listen. STEMedia got it. I just want y'all to know, you know what I mean? We got some math geniuses around here. We got some math geniuses. They laughing at the doctor in here. I don't know what happened. I think I had a little brain fart or something, but I want to be greater than average. Come on, y'all.
I got a little joke for you when it comes to this. Let me see if I can make you laugh a little bit.
Okay.
So why is it inappropriate to call your students average?
Why is it inappropriate to call your student average?
Right.
Why is it inappropriate?
Because it's such a mean thing to say.
But listen, that is a good joke. I gotta get you on here one day with our engineer comedian. We had Charmaine on here one time.
Okay.
Charmaine Christy Primo. She's a comedian. That's the joke she would love. She would love a joke like that. Okay. Man, that's dope. It's such a mean thing to say. We got one more for him though. We got one more for it, don't we? Here it is. One more, Oneil, in our School Me section. Break this down for us.
Okay, so for those that don't know, this is actually a quote from Einstein. So if A is a success in life, then A is equal to X plus Y plus Z. So he goes on to explain what X and Y and Z happen to be. So work is X, Y is play, Z is keeping your mouth shut. So that part right there is like the philosophical aspect where when it comes to success and when it comes to learning, part of doing that is listening. And you can't listen when you're trying to talk. So yes, work, you have to work hard to get the things you want to accomplish. Play, that's the other side of working where you want to balance that life out. But then there's the third part rather where you got to keep quiet, learn the things that are out there because you don't have all the information. You don't have all the wisdom. So learn from other people by being quiet.
I dig it, man. I dig it. Y'all, that was fantastic. He definitely brought the heat. He brought the gangster on this segment of School Me. So that concludes our segment. School Me. School Me. School Me. All right, Oneil, man, this has been a fantastic show, man. I've been enjoying my time with you, brother. I enjoyed this interview. If you could, man, go ahead and tell the people how they can keep in touch with you, what's coming down the pike for the Black Math Academy. How can someone even work with you if they know somebody or if they are a person that can use your services? And then give us some parting words of wisdom, if you don't mind, before we say goodbye.
All right, bet. So you can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube at the Black Math Academy for all three platforms. A bunch of content on there. A bunch of post about mathematics, about social issues, and how I apply both things to each other. A bunch of math jokes too, they're there as well. In terms of getting in touch with me, my contact information are on both of my Facebook and IG pages. So you can DM me, Facebook message, call, text, all the different ways to communicate these days. There are a ton of them. Any one of those platforms would be available to you. And in terms of anyone who wants to work, I'm definitely looking for that as well. Actually, I was getting overwhelmed towards the end of this particular school year, and it's about time that I kind of open
get some help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely hit me up in those same methods as well. We can definitely chop it up, and we'll go further into that in terms of some of the more specific aspects of how I'm going to approach that. I think the last thing you said was parting words of wisdom. Yeah. So one thing I talk to my students about, I'll put it this way, just kind of this quote that I sort of came up with, that the one thing you want to do is to be the smartest person in the room. Once you become the smartest person in the room, you become the authority on the subject. And once you're the authority on the subject, people have to come to you for advice, and no one can tell you anything. And that's power.
Oh man, I love that, because there's so much wisdom that's been given about being not the smartest person in the room, but at the same time you are very breaking it down, and I love it because you're saying, hey, this is how you can gain authority. If you can become an authority on a topic, people can come to you for that answers, and then you have the power in that given scenario. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. And you, my friend, have in fact demonstrated yourself as the authority on math on tonight's STEMedia Live. You got me over here tripping on the whole average. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm having brain farts in the middle of it, but man, listen here. You are a phenomenal brother. And again, I'm just so grateful for, even before we had this, right? Like, you've been supporting, you've been down, you've been coming through, active in the chat. It's just so great. But not only that, man, you are doing phenomenal work for our community, for the Black community. Your tagline, building or rebuilding Black intelligent society. I love it. And I just want you to continue doing what you're doing. And those shirts, man, that shirt is pretty dope too, man. How can we get one of the shirts? Go ahead and let us know. Is that on your website?
It's on my website. It's actually on my Facebook and Instagram page. I made a post earlier about making these things and selling it to people.
Okay.
So I'll probably repost it again, and people can just DM me about the different styles, different mathematicians. Just let me know. It's like the size and the color of the shirt. I've got tees, long sleeves, and hoodies. So just let me know if it matters which particular mathematicians, or just doesn't matter. I can definitely mix them up. And once we exchange that information, I'll send it to you, ASAP.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it, man. Well, listen, you are the expert. One of these days, you're going to have to put yourself on the t-shirt, brother. You know what I mean? You're just going to have to save yourself a spot at the end of the day. And just know that, I'll be cheering that on. I'll be happy to rock that one when that time comes too. And man, hey, I consider you a brother, a part of this community. And so, hey, thank you so much for coming on. I know this won't be the last time that we get to rap, we get to chat. But until then, man, you take care, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you do the same, man. Definitely appreciate you bringing me onto this platform, man. You are being able to aggregate these resources for us. That's what we definitely need. This repository of this information and these people to pass out this expert advice to the people who don't know. We need this. So, shout out to you for doing this, man.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. Well, hey, from one brother to another, I affirm you, King. Thank you so much, man.
Peace.
All right, peace. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us on STEMedia Live tonight. Again, in case you do not know, I say that STEMedia Live, in case you didn't know, it's brought to you by the STEMedia Network, currently in beta. This is the place where you can empower your STEM journey with on-demand video series, webinars, interviews, podcasts, and so much more to elevate and inspire your STEM success. So go to STEMedia.com right now for a free 30-day trial and become a part of our network. And at the very least, make sure you join us again next Sunday as we bring another creative and inspirational person in the STEM community for our weekly episode of STEM Media Sundays. Catch you later. Peace.